Hello everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Alexis for anybody who doesn't know. Welcome if you're new, or welcome back if you have been here before. I am the author of A Journey into Truth, Unveiling Life's Secrets for Truth Seekers. This book talks all about the last 6 years of my life, my spiritual journey, the explorations and adventures I've been on. It also talks about my life philosophies and kind of my secrets to a happy life. It'll be available for ordering and actually buying and purchasing on February 2nd, 2022. Woo! That'll be my anniversary. It's our anniversary. Here on Vibrate to Create, I talk about all things spiritual and metaphysical, talk about my own life philosophies and awarenesses I've come to because of my experiences. I also make reaction videos to things like spiritual teachers, spiritual teachings, inspirational, motivational, and sometimes funny videos. I cry a lot. And what else? Oh, and in the future, I'll be making entrepreneurial videos, letting you know how to self-publish your own book. So if you're interested in that kind of content, then you can click the subscribe button. You can hit the notification bell to be notified of when I post new videos. Today, I want to react to Teal Swan. So this is called How to Air Your Dirty Laundry by Teal Swan and Ralph Smart. And this is on Ralph Smart's channel, which is called Infinite Waters Diving Deep. Infinite Waters Diving Deep.
I do it for the kids.
We can never become more excellent than each other because we're working together in excellence. My excellence is your excellence.
That's
and vice
sharing.
versa.
That's true sharing, yeah.
You see? How can your partner be your competition and someone you're trying to go against?
Very easily in today's world.
Very easily, because once again, it's a whole thing where no one wants to have the traditional role society has placed on them. You've got people who are working in a cafe and they're like, what? I just want to do selfies on Instagram and get paid for it. I don't blame you. Go for it. You see, that's the kind of world we're living in. We're living in the world of the dream chasers. And the world of the dream chasers is wonderful, but in chasing your dream, you have to realize that it's a lot of sacrifice. Once again, you might lose people who were really authentic and genuine people. You got to be careful. That's what I've learned, that you don't want to be running so fast that you lose track of what's right in front of you. That could be the real dream right there. We're trying to climb the mountain and get to the top, but maybe the real secret's at the bottom, and just going in the gentle flow of the process. The process is the destination.
That's true, yes. Now remembering that when you're in the middle of it is a lot.
No, you see, well, that's how it all works. It's always easy to say it. It's always easy to say it, but it's like when you're on stage, just like acting, or even when you're drawing, there's no time to start analyzing stuff. You're in the most authentic space when a lot of us, we're suffering right now. We talk about suffering because we only want to show the world one aspect of ourselves.
Yep.
So we have to maintain this facade,
yes,
which we know that's not even us, because after we finish doing it, we're doing something else.
Yeah, oh, and then people get very disillusioned when they hang out with you. That was a shock to me, actually. Well, when they come in and I'm frustrated about something, they're like, wait a minute, this is Teal Swan. She shouldn't be frustrated about anything. I thought she was in such a high state. And I was like, oh, I have to show this also. Hell yeah. The majority of our suffering is because we only want people to see one aspect. And then it's hell on earth, because why? We're left by ourselves with the other aspects of ourselves. That's true loneliness, if you really want to know.
Wow.
Yes. We've been looking at a lot of celebrities who are not seen as spiritual people, and these people are seen as sort of celebrity-like spiritual teachers, and their lives or their face specifically is put out into the public, put out into the world for business purposes, for teaching purposes, for blah blah blah. And when you look at social media people, even these celebrities and pop stars, what you're seeing is a tiny little snippet of their life, of whatever they're willing to show to you. and you don't get to see the moment where they have lost a loved one and they're on the floor crying their eyes out. And you don't, because nobody wants to share that. Nobody wants to be like, oh, hey, look at me, guys. Because then you're seen as like, oh, I need sympathy, I need empathy. And then you can be seen as weak, or you can be seen as like whatever you want to say. And that also doesn't mean be a complete open book, because there is a privacy, there's a sacredness in holding on to that emotion and moving through that wave. But it's also, yeah, like she said, like important to be open with these things, and to be open with, oh, I've been through hardships, I've been through hard times, and to not be ashamed of those things. And I talk a lot about my suicide attempt and my depression and the things I've been through. And it all comes from a place of like wanting to shed light on those aspects that maybe sometimes people feel alone in, or people feel that they can't express to others because people wouldn't understand. But you're not alone. I felt it. I still feel it sometimes. It's all right. It gets better, and you're not alone. Okay.
You know, I'm learning already so much from this interview, because this conversation, this dialogue, this friendship, this connection, because it's all. So see, what we want to show them, that's the easy part. You got to do what you're afraid of. What's really uncomfortable, now it becomes your comfort when you can exercise it.
And that is the freest thing. I think you want to talk about freedom.
So, in my series where I'm talking about my journey towards self-publishing my book and talking about the things that have transpired in my life, I talk about how I was a little bit afraid to put that out in the open and to tell people like, oh, this happened to me. Especially because not even like my family members all know what specifically happened or what it was like from my perspective and what I went through and what I was feeling. Because nobody can actually look through your eyes but yourself. And it can be really scary to come out into the open and say, oh, hey guys, look at this happened to me, or this was what I was experiencing that nobody actually knew. It can be very scary, because nobody has normalized being able to talk about those things.
So we're coming back to your thing, okay? Personal freedom.
Right.
There is nothing on this earth that I have done more liberating than that. Nothing. When I put it all out there, when I literally like called it, I aired my dirty laundry essentially, and I realized that what came back to me was not going to kill me. That was the biggest freedom I have ever experienced on this earth to date.
Right. That's wonderful. And how do you deal with people's interpretation of you as this ascended master?
I don't.
Right, you don't. But what happens when sometimes, for instance, many people are asking you for advice and you don't have the answer? Do you give them an answer, or do you say, I don't know, and then move along?
I'll say I don't know.
Right, because I've seen that's what you've done, and it's so authentic. That's what I do as well a lot of the times these days. And what advice would you give to someone, a really young guy or girl who's just coming up in this Instagram world of likes? The reason why I'm mentioning likes is because likes, we're talking about love here. You see, like is the closest thing to love. So when people in this social media world, they get a video with 1 million views, that translates into love. Mm-hmm. If they get an Instagram post with 10 likes, that translates into feeling not worthy. So what do you say to someone who...
So I want to talk on this subject just really quickly. So when I was 19, I talk about how that was like the beginning of the rebirth of me. And that was the moment where I decided no social media, no pictures, no sharing anything at all whatsoever with the world or with the public. And before that time, I was all over Dub Smash. It was like this website where you could make short little clips, and I loved to make those videos because it was so funny to me. And that was also the time where I was like taking a bunch of pills and weed and alcohol and things like that too. That was like my party stage, but you don't get to see all those things because I just showed tiny little pieces. And I remember when I was doing that, social media became this source of kind of anxiety, because it was like, oh, I have to perform a little bit different this time, or I have to make someone laugh even more this time, or maybe if I do this, then someone will like this even more, and blah blah blah. So it was like less about me, what did I really love to do, but more like how do I get more people to like this thing, or how do I get more people to laugh at this thing? Because I've always liked funny things, and I like to make funny things too. And yeah, it became this place where I started to really go down that rabbit hole of like, self-worth comes with how many people like this, how many people love this. Very easy trap to fall into when you're that young. And when I was 19, I think getting off of social media was one of the best, like absolute best choices I ever made in my life. And I can't tell you why exactly I decided to make that choice, but yeah. So I was off of social media for 6 years, 6 whole years, throughout my whole spiritual journey. And I think that was so perfect, because if I had been on social media throughout that time and was sharing the things I was going through, perhaps I would have given a much more immature or not completely well-rounded sense of who I was in that realm of spirituality. And maybe I would have just been like all over the place. And now I think knowing who I am and knowing how I want to show up in the world and who I want to show up as, and not in from this state of like, who do other people want me to be, but like, who am I, and what is that authentic self, and what am I willing to put out into the world, regardless of if they're gonna like it or not. And yeah, I'm really happy I took that break. And in that space of really just living in the world and talking to people and interacting with people on a personal level throughout that spiritual journey, meeting just different people with different perspectives and opinions in real life, interacting without just looking at a screen of like, what are they willing to put out in the world and what do they look like in the world, I mean on the internet. I gained a lot of my sense of self, and I gained a lot of personal freedom and power to know who I am inside and not what somebody else wants from me. So I'm happy I took that choice.
May not be getting any attention, but they really want it in a social media setting, like videos on YouTube or on Facebook, and literally no one is caring about what they're doing.
Well, I would always take them into trauma work, because I've noticed that because of the law of mirroring in this universe, there's nobody that's getting no attention that doesn't have a primary wound of feeling invisible and ignored. So instead of going in the direction of finding love in and of themselves and everything, I would take them in the entire opposite direction and drop them as deep into that feeling of invisibility as they possibly can. And we'd essentially resolve the primary wound that has caused that condition, which is now just mirroring in their adult life.
Wow. And what's next for Teal Swan? That's what people...
So I want to talk about this subject for just a quick second, is this idea of spiritual teachers and looking up to them or seeing them as like up on this pedestal because they have so many people following them, or they have so many good ideas to be taught to people. And I'm such a personal empowerment, freedom person that I'm always like, whenever somebody's telling me like, oh, have you ever heard blah, 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 or have you ever done this and this and this? It's always like, let me think for myself first. Let me find my own personal empowerment and my own personal self-love. And what do I feel when I hear this teacher speak? And like taking it objectively and taking it as like, it's an idea. It's not the absolute truth. But it's this, like Tupac said in his video that I reacted to, it's this constant, eternal search for knowledge and more and deeper wisdom and even deeper and then even deeper, because there's so many ideas and so many perspectives that I have never encountered before. And in the moment that I'm like, oh no, I got it, I know this already, I'm an expert, the world is like, no, you're not, look at this thing now. Because like, I never heard about family constellations, and then I started, like, I met this woman who was a teacher, and then she started teaching me about it, and then it just like flipped my whole world upside down and was like, what is reality? Does anything that I've ever learned before ever even, like, is it even true? What? Just like this, what? And then, like, you can see all the spiritual books I have behind me. Like, there's so much information out there, and being open to listening to every single one and then figuring out what is the deeper layer of truth within all of them is just so fascinating to me. So fascinating. And then, like, that quote I've talked about of having your cup half full, because if it's full, there's no room for more information or knowledge to come in, and never thinking you've got it all done already, because it will never be done. And just this idea of like fandom towards a spiritual teacher, I think I'm much more about personal freedom, personal search, personal knowledge, personal thinking for oneself, and not just hearing somebody say, oh, this crystal, it will do this and this and this and blah blah blah, and then you just say, okay, yes, that is the truth. But really just questioning, is that so? Is that so? I think that's a Zen Buddhist thing that a monk once said. Just everything, is that so? Questioning. Does a crystal actually do that? Is that so? Maybe. Who knows? Maybe not. Maybe Teal Swan's ideas, Teal Swan's teachings, maybe not. Ralph Smart, maybe. Alexis, maybe not. Think for yourself.